is this big enough? About attendees?
Yeah, it's big enough up there. I mean, it's big enough here.
All right, so everyone, it's about 7:03, so we're going to start tonight's school committee meeting. It's November 10th. Everyone who, should I do that? Do I have to read that thing first? We are still in a COVID pandemic, so the public will be able to attend virtually. And this meeting is being recorded, and we're participating in this hybrid model of a meeting is in because of an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures until April 1st, 2022. Oops, sorry.
Jean is not hearing any sound. Are you muted yet?
Sorry, is that better? Sorry. So, in an act relative to extending certain COVID measures until April 1st, 2022, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 304, Section 2020. All those who can rise, please stand to say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, sorry everyone, I'll get it together. If there's any committee comments, we'll start. I don't see our students.
I don't see our students.
We'll start with John then.
All right. Just a couple quick things. I just wanted to acknowledge the Swampscott High cheer team for placing first at the NEC co-ed competition this past Sunday up in Topsfield. That entitles them to move on to the next phase this coming weekend, to the next cheer competition, so we all wish them luck. Also, the boys football team moved on, and I'm sure we all know, so we're looking forward to that game on Saturday at noon. So that was it, Suzanne.
We should remind people that if they want to go to those games, the MIAA is asking for people to buy tickets ahead of time. And I know things went home to parents and to families and students on how to do that. So make sure you do that, because you can't buy tickets at the games.
And it's real easy. It's on the just Google Swampscott Athletics even, and you'll pull up that page, and it's pretty standard. It's pretty easy.
I was just going to say it's super easy to do it online.
It's like surprisingly easy.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't imagine. Karen, do you have any comments?
Yep. So John saved field hockey for me. I want to congratulate the girls field hockey team. They just won their second round playoff game tonight, 4-1 against Midfield. Yay! I believe 2 goals by Isabella Modica and 2 goals by Sydney Marshall.
Woo!
Yeah.
So we don't know when the next game is, but it will probably be this weekend, most likely.
It's exciting.
Yes.
Oh my God, all
Congratulations.
three
They all
teams
played
moving
so
on.
amazing. Yeah.
It's awesome. Glenn, do you have anything?
Thank you. The only congratulations to the field hockey team. Just one of the things that what we do in this community and in the school system, Toys for Local Children is a holiday gift-giving program organized by the Swampscott Public Schools, and there are plenty of opportunities for those who need financial assistance to buy holiday clothes, gifts, to reach out to members of our school community, the TLC coordinators at each building. Please use this if the situation arises. I mean, that's why this community is so great. We have this opportunity. There's no questions asked. And at this time of year, as we get into the holiday season, we want everyone to celebrate, to have that ability, especially as COVID continues. Everyone should have an opportunity to put a smile on someone's face. And please reach out. The coordinators at the various schools are Jacqueline Wilson, Ashley Mast, and Julie Faulkner. And it's available on the school's website as well. So please, don't think you're in this alone if you're struggling right now. I think everyone has been there at one point or another. So we we hope that you take advantage of this. Thank you.
All right, I don't see public.
Oh, Maggie.
Maggie
comments at the
Jensen's
end.
here?
Yeah, do you want to, oh, Maggie, sorry. Do you have any comments for us? Maggie?
Hi, I'm so sorry my mic wasn't working and I couldn't hear anything. Overall, I just wanted to add, she couldn't be here tonight because of a previous engagement, but overall the school is looking forward to Powder Puff in the coming weeks. This is public comment, right?
Why there is-
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So overall, Powder Puff is coming up in the next coming weeks. Next week is Bear Week for Powder Puff, and obviously that's not only an event for the senior and junior girls, but overall for the class in general. And it's creating a much needed sense of camaraderie and community throughout the school, which is really nice, especially because we weren't able to have that over the past couple of weeks. And I apologize, not again, but I apologize for my tardiness.
You're forgiven.
Yeah, you're forgiven. We're just happy to have you here. We're going to have public comment at the end of tonight, so we're just going to move on to the superintendent's report.
Sure. So at our last meeting, we were talking about the posting for the human resources manager that is just for the school department. So I come before you tonight with an update that of the 11 candidates we had, we are moving 4 candidates forward, and they are being interviewed in round 1 this Friday, November 12th. Ms. Sanborn, our assistant principal at the middle school, is leading this interview committee with Kate Curtis, who supports our HR department, and Ms. Bonnie Lavoie, who is the new benefits coordinator on the town side. Because this HR manager will be working closely with both Kate and Bonnie, we felt it was important that they be part of the first round of interviews. I'm looking forward to them moving forward at least 2 finalists so that I can hold the second round of interviews, hopefully next week, but obviously we'll have to coordinate schedules. And this interview committee, I will lead alongside Ms. Seibert, who has taken on in the past year and a half some HR duties, along with attorney Deborah Ecker, who has really supported our district in the HR issues that have come up in the last year and a half. So best case scenario, round 2 will happen next week. We'll move it along, and then, so there's a little bit of a timeline. I wanted to shout out with 4 confirmed vaccination clinic opportunities. The town and Marblehead and Swampscott are holding a joint one on November 16th. We are holding a mass Vax bus one. A Vax bus is coming to Swampscott on November 18th. We have our clinics here at the high school November 23rd and December 18th. And I'm sorry, that should say December 16th. That is the correction. All of them are from 3 to 7. And if you click on the link within the superintendent's report, this is the communication that went home from Mrs. Amanda Mulcahy with all of the details and more links in that clinic reminder. So again, it is November 16th, November 18th, November 23rd, and December 16th. That is incorrect on my report. The other item I wanted to, I'm sorry, do you have a question?
No.
Okay. The other item I wanted to follow up on that we talked about with regard to policy and vaccination policy is I did follow up with that survey I sent out again to staff, faculty and staff. And considering we have about 218 teachers, we had 345 people respond to that survey, and of the 345, 7 have exemptions. So we are at a vaccination rate of faculty and staff of 338 staff members. So I do not think the committee's in the position for having to mandate vaccines. What Mrs. Mulcahy and I were talking about is perhaps the committee could consider, if you're unvaccinated, you being part of mandatory pool testing once a week. That is something that the committee could consider. At the last meeting as well, we were talking about how to get more information about our high schoolers who have been vaccinated, because we know that the town data doesn't support what's coming through the schools. And it was mentioned about the MIIS, the Massachusetts Immunization Information System. And our high school nurse, Miss Amanda Rivers, spent a lot of time on this project, cross-referencing students. And it turns out we have discovered that 530 of our high school students have been vaccinated. The 80% threshold would be 524, but I am still not recommending to unmasking at all or apply for a waiver, especially where the commissioner has extended the mask deadline till January 15th. But in terms of numbers, that's a bit more current data.
That makes way more sense,
It makes a lot of sense, and
Yes.
now I believe Ms. Rivers was going to go down to the middle school and try to help them do the same thing so we could get more accurate numbers. It's something that was a big project, but I'm happy we did it, because now that seems to match up more with the town data that we have versus just who was coming forward with that data here. So those are a few follow-ups from our last meeting. And the final item on my report tonight is I've received, as has the committee, a lot of emails inquiring about the Stanley School transition. We're super excited that the new school passed, and understandably, parents from Stanley School want to be involved and informed about the transition for their children. I can just say that we will absolutely communicate and involve the Stanley community during the appropriate time. We're just not there yet. And as I've said prior to the vote, we expect to have a plan solidified by January, but there will be ongoing communication. We're not going to not inform those families what's going on with their children. We definitely want to involve them, but it has to be at the appropriate time. I feel like the ink is still drying on the vote, and we are still planning, coordinating, negotiating, but we will absolutely involve those families. This can't be done without them. In fact, we'll probably involve all 3 schools and their families. So, but Stanley in particular, this is what impacts them the most, and I just want to put out there that the district is committed to involving those families when it's appropriate.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for adding that, because last night at our school building committee meeting, there were parents there, and that was the bulk of the comments had to do with that. And I know it's just hard. This uncertainty is hard for.
Being in limbo is
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah.
And I
No, I know.
completely understand that, but what I'm sure you assured them last night that there's still a lot of conversations going on, there's a lot of negotiating going on, and it would be unfair to try to bring them in at this point when we don't have a solid plan to offer. But they are at the forefront of our thoughts, and we will definitely connect with them.
Can I just say, can you just pass on my personal thanks to Ms. Rivers for doing this? When we were talking last week, it was just a little confusing where some of these numbers were going, and I know, unfortunately, the data is just not at your fingertips. I mean, unfortunately, and to see that, and I'm sure it was yeoman effort by Ms. Rivers, but it's great that she did that. It's great for you, you as an administrator to actually have an understanding of the real numbers. So, thank you to Ms. Rivers. I know how challenging that job had to have been.
It was.
So
And
it's great.
actually, that number, if I'm not mistaken, I also heard that some of the students, don't allow it to be reported, so the number could be
Right.
higher. But just knowing that 524 is our 80% threshold,
And
that
we're
we're over it, makes a whole lot more sense. So I just wanted the committee to know that I did circle back on those 2 topics.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, and Superintendent, I also just want to thank you for bringing this information, because I know we had a lot of conversation on that the last time. And just on your recommendation at this point not to apply for the waiver is, I'm just wondering, a little bit more context, what you're thinking, just because they do have that mechanism there to, once you hit that 80% threshold.
In consultation with Mrs. Mulcahy and seeing our numbers increase, although the numbers in the town, in the state are good, they're not, we are in the red, and we are seeing, not a lot, but we are seeing steady cases within the schools. And the other consideration is our teacher population, and they're not comfortable unmasking at this time. Everything's going indoors. We're not going to have as much use of the tents. We're not going to be able to have outdoor lunches. And I just think it's probably prudent to stay the course at least until the good weather comes in the spring.
All right. And this commissioner mandate runs through
January 15th.
It could be extended at that point, correct?
Correct. I think that January 15th is a great guide. I'm excited by the vaccination rate of our high schoolers, but in speaking with Mrs. Mulcahy, the amount of test and stays, the amount of contract tracing that's going on, we're really taxing our nurses right now, and we haven't even gotten into the winter season yet. I don't think it's wise at this point.
And
I completely agree. I mean, just looking, just really, even back in October, there were still only 2 schools that applied. And they weren't approved as of with the article I'm reading at the end of October. I just think I think it's a smart decision given flu season's coming, and it's just, let's be prudent. We'll get through it all together, but let's just be prudent. I completely agree with that. Your thoughts on that one?
I appreciate that. I think one of the things that Mrs. Mulcahy and I, and actually my team and I, keep talking about is, from the get-go, we've really been super cautious, sometimes more cautious, and done more things than we've been required to do. And I think that has helped us get through this, and I just think we should stay with that mentality right now.
And for whatever it's worth, just switching gears onto the Stanley school transition points you were making. We were talking about the football game earlier, and I had probably about 4 different parents come up to me, which isn't a lot, but they're all asking, "Hey, what's going on? With now that the vote has passed, what's going on? What's going to happen to my kid? Or my kid's going to be starting? What's happening?" So, and it sounds like these were for Suzanne was saying that these are the same concerns that were coming up. So, parents are definitely asking the questions.
Yeah, there's a lot. All right, I appreciate that. Director of Finance, are you ready, Mrs. Seibert?
I am. With the committee's permission, I'd like to do them out of order and do the group.
Oh, yeah,
first.
sure.
That's okay.
Yep. All right, we have Mr. Max Casper here to talk about this.
We're very, very excited to present or to request the committee to take a vote tonight to award the second phase of the middle school roof project. Oh, thank you. Sorry. To award the second phase of the middle school roof project. As you may recall, there was a warrant article in the March 2021 special town meeting that funded this for $1.9 million. And we awarded the contract for phase 1 to Corolla Roofing. And right now, that part of the contract is projected at a $1.1 million value, leaving about $788,000 in that capital article for phase 2. We followed all Mass General laws with regard to procurement, and a site visit was required for prospective respondents back on October 28th. The bid went out uniquely, and I'll let Mr. Casper speak a little bit more to it if the committee has questions, but there was a base bid, and then there was a bid, an alternate that actually reduced the contract cost by changing an element of the material in the bid. And so with that, with that alternative being used, this comes in within the capital guidelines that we have. So this, the lowest bid was $750,000, which is comfortably below the $788,000 remaining. There were 7 respondents that submitted bids for consideration, and we're very pleased that Corolla Roofing was the lowest bidder. They have been doing phase 1, and we're very pleased with their project management and the way it's proceeding, and it'll be nice to have them finish phase 2 as well. So I'll pause there and see if there are any questions from the committee for either myself or Mr. Casper.
Can you just tell us, I was just reading through this, that there's a materials change. You just let the community know what that was all about?
Sure, excellent question. So the roofing system that we're installing at the middle school is actually it's a high performance roofing system, the one that we're currently installing and what will be installed in phase 2. So on flat roofs, it's common to have like single membrane rubber EPDM roofs or PVC roofs. They're prone to puncture. The system that we have is actually multi-ply with multiple adhesives, and it's extremely durable, and we anticipate a lifespan of up to 40 years with a 30-year warranty. With an EPDM roof, you get about a 20-year warranty and a lifespan anticipated about 25 years. So with that, we did have the ability to ramp down the thickness of one of the two membranes to get the cost down of the materials for the project. So with the reduction in the mils of one of the membranes, we don't even decrease the warranty of the roof. It's just a slightly different makeup and less expensive material, but still a very high performing membrane. So I know it sounds like we're buying the less expensive option, but it's still actually much better than most flat roof installations that are going to happen, and we're very comfortable with the installation and the material that we'll be going with for the project.
Great. Thank you very much.
No problem.
And I saw a little comment in there about, supply chain issues, et cetera, and we're confident that this is in hand and it's ready to go?
It's not in hand, but that's one of the reasons why we were doing this so far in advance. This work will take place over the summer next year when students are not in the building. And by going out to bid right now, we're really getting the schedule that we want and allowing the vendor to go out and procure the materials now so that they are here, ready, available to start work when school ends.
Awesome. Anyone else have any questions?
No. Actually, you just answered it.
Oh,
Perfect. Summertime, so.
Okay.
When's phase 1 supposed to be over? Are they overlapping or?
No.
So it's the brunt of the work is completed with the membrane. Over the next few weeks, they have detail work and flashing and edge metal and a couple of smaller sections and some masonry repairs. But we're anticipating project completion by the end of this month.
Well, it doesn't seem like it was disruptive either, because I've been by a couple times and it looked pretty organized.
Yeah, I mean, we're managing it pretty well. It's challenging to do a major roof project in an occupied building. Jason Callisman, the principal, has been really awesome to work with and flexible with kind of making it work and minimizing the disruption. But looking forward to doing the next phase in the summer, mostly
I would
an
also say
occupied
those
building.
weekly meetings that Mr. Kalishman was a part of with the contractor and Max and Martha involved in really made it, they were able to plan for any disruption, and it was minimal.
Thank you.
So a vote is requested.
So a vote is requested. So do I have to read some language somewhere, you guys?
I would request a vote to award the contract for Phase 2 of the middle school roof project to Corella Roofing of Winthrop, right?
Winthrop, yep.
Winthrop.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
All those in favor, we'll do a roll call.
Yes.
Glenn? John?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
And I'm a yes.
Great.
So
We will get the contracts executed. Thank you very much.
exciting.
The next item that I have for the committee is a somewhat brief update on FY22 budget. I want to remind the committee, this is very similar to the update I gave a year ago on FY21, where it's an abbreviated update. There's not a lot to talk about at this point. We've actually only had about 47 contract days, student days at this point, so there's still more than 80% of the school year remaining. And so I think it's important to note, I know the committee is aware of that, but sometimes the community thinks that we're already 4 months into the fiscal year, why aren't you X percentage spent of your budget? And our budget doesn't sync up in a 1/12 type of fashion. So I put that out there for the committee, but for the benefit of the community as well. At this point, I do want to touch upon a budget transfer request and make the committee aware that I am going to be submitting a warrant article for the special town meeting in December to request a transfer of money from free cash to fund cost items contained in the memorandum of agreements between our collective bargaining agreements. As the committee knows, we negotiated a number of structural changes to 2 of our contracts, and we'd like to recoup the one-time payments that were made to those members. And so that's what that $28,000 reflects. This is very common, and the town administrator has encouraged us to use this mechanism for structural change. The structural change that was purchased was a migration to biweekly payroll and the full implementation of timesheets and eventually electronic timekeeping. And so this structural change was offset with a one-time bonus for members. And I will say that it was incredibly appreciated by the members that we helped with the migration to biweekly by doing this, by structuring it this way. At this point in time, it does look like the administration cost center is under budget, but that is the result of I budgeted an extra $50,000 for unemployment, and now that the initial shock of the pandemic has worn off, the unemployment claims have really significantly slowed. So I don't think that we're going to need that money. And there's also a couple of open positions that there's some salary savings in that line. General education, special education, again, it's just very, very early in the school year and the fiscal year to be projecting with a lot of specificity other than staffing. And I think I'll pause there to see if the committee has any questions. I did point out in the memo for the committee that we did use some tailings from the FY21 budget. We did prepay $210,000 worth of out-of-district tuitions, which really helped FY22 at this point. So I'll pause for questions if there are any.
So we're not voting on it, we're not transferring this, we're not voting to transfer?
No.
This is coming down the pipe at some point?
Yep. The next update that I provide will probably be in early January after December 31st, after we process that payroll. And it'll be in the format that you're more accustomed to, with a little more detail and a little more drilling down into the different cost centers and what's driving some of the variances.
I think.
Yeah.
Anyone, questions?
Great.
It's pretty clear to me, Mrs. Seibert, thank you.
Thank you.
All right then. So, Chair, she's not here. So, do you have anything to say in her stead, or?
No, we have a tri-chair meeting coming up on the 19th with the new select board chair, so we're looking forward to that. That's the only update we have.
You know, I saw that the new select board chair emailed us and inquired about electric vehicles and talking about a policy. The town has a policy, or is going to be talking about a policy.
That was the vice chair, right? Neil sent that one?
I thought.
Polly sent one about the Stanley families, what we just talked about.
Oh, so it was.
Yeah.
So it was Neil. So
Yeah.
I don't. That's something you guys bring up on to talk to them about.
Yeah,
and
we'll discuss that.
What we might want to do.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. That was Neil. Sorry.
It's
Thank
okay.
you. All right. So the next thing on the agenda is subcommittee reports, and school building committee is first. And we just started our meeting back together this past week, so it's exciting to have the team back together and start working on this. There are so many moving pieces. It's overwhelming. There's so much to do, but it's really exciting, and hopefully we're hitting the ground running, and there'll be more information to come as we sort of start really thinking about all the different pieces and parts and everything. This is just exciting. And policy. So I don't know, John, do you want to talk since I keep talking? We have 2 policies that need that have vote requested that we worked on last time that we could just go over a few. I'm happy to do it, so I just.
you want me to read it, or?
Yeah, we'll start with the COVID testing one. I just clicked on that one first. Do you guys want to read it, or you want to just, maybe we can just go over the changes that we
I
did?
think we
Or
should go over the changes. We had a chance to read it. I'm not a committee member, so I should probably.
Changes is perfectly fine.
Huh?
Changes is perfectly fine.
Yeah, so,
I think most of it was on the bottom portion where it says routine
Yes.
COVID safety check requirements, that last paragraph. Yeah, I think most of it was there. I think actually that whole paragraph was new.
right,
And I think really the only change from when we did our first read was that second paragraph where it said this requirement will be reviewed. I think, we just added some extra language there to make it more specific that it would be reviewed by the school committee prior to the commencement of the spring sports season or as circumstances warrant. We just provide a little more specificity. So, rather than locking ourselves in just to spring, if things change before then, we'd have some flexibility and that it would be reviewed by the school committee. So that's the big change there.
and this is happening because Mrs. Farley had the winter sports meeting and people know this is happening.
Right.
And I'm assuming people are enrolling and doing this, or getting ready to do this.
Signups is open. I haven't looked at it myself to see if there's like an additional check mark, but
Yeah, they're supposed to be. I know Mrs. McKay was talking to.
She was talking to her.
Yeah.
I think at the time it said, be prepared that this could be coming,
Right.
pending this vote. And so once the vote occurs, it's my understanding that that would be added.
it'll be live.
But they did put up there that they were giving parents a preview that it was coming. So that's what I have for.
Yeah, and this will be a good test to see that if what the results are and how many sports get to stay in progress all season long.
Right,
Will be great.
So-
So, I need a motion.
I was just going to before we jump off of that, I don't know if it's a question for the superintendent to take away. It's certainly not going to stop any vote or anything, but just on the privacy, this was something I'd raised in the subcommittee level. I just was curious, just reading this, the samples that are taken, are they tested then destroyed? Are they tested then stored? I guess
I depend on CIC Health for that, but you're talking about the pool testing that
Yes,
we're doing now.
yes.
I have heard, I don't know the answer to that, I can tell you that, but I can certainly find out for you.
All right.
Is the short answer.
I can't remember. I remember she was speaking about that, like what they were doing. I just don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah,
I
I know.
can't
I know we
remember.
touched on it, but yeah, like I said, I was more curious than anything else. But it would be good to know, just for if people ask, what happens if.
Yep.
my
I can certainly circle back
students in
on that.
So we need to vote on this. So I need someone to make a motion to vote to approve EBC-FC COVID-19 testing.
I'll make that motion.
And someone second?
Second?
All those in favor, Glenn?
Yes.
John?
I'm going to be a no on this one.
Karen?
Yes.
Suzanne, yes. So the motion passes. And then we'll go to the other policy we're looking at is JICFB, the bullying prevention. So this was a policy we have already had in place. Cleaned it up a little bit, changed the language just to update it to sort of match kind of some cyberbullying language and inserting the Massachusetts general law definitions in here. And then
Making the investigation periods consistent
Yeah.
with the plan that,
yeah, so
that
the
was put
school-
together.
So it's been updated to match the bullying prevention plan that Mrs. Raymond's been working on, and talks about the investigation procedures. We didn't really change anything here, right, John? Like we did.
No.
Update, right?
Yeah.
There was one area. prevention intervention, here it is right here. So, in the second paragraph here, third paragraph. The investigation is not complete after 5 days. The principal, should say, or designate, will report to the stakeholders, the target and aggressor's parents and guardians, the status of the investigation no less than weekly. I think, is that, Mrs. Raymond, like, if it's not complete after 5 days, you'll still update the target and the aggressor's parents or guardians, the status of the investigation?
Yes.
Like in a,
Yeah, I don't think there were any timelines in the previous one.
yeah, there
so
wasn't.
This is kind of best practice to keep everybody under a timeline.
Okay, just wanted to make sure, because that sentence, we hadn't solidified that, but I think that's the only,
I think so, yeah, and that weekly thing, there were a number of other communities that had, if it didn't say weekly, it was 5 days or 10 days, but,
right.
some sort of periodic update seemed appropriate.
All right, so that was really, I mean, this is basically our policy, just kind of updated for new language and to have agreement with the bullying plan, so nothing super controversial here. Someone wants to make a motion to approve JICFB bullying prevention.
So moved?
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
John, second. All those in favor? Glenn?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Suzanne, yes. Yay. Moving right along, people. This is awesome. Consent agenda. The consent agenda is designed to, the consent agenda is designed to expedite the handling of routine and miscellaneous business of the district. The school committee may adopt the entire consent agenda with one motion. At the request of any committee member, any item may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda for discussion. So on the consent agenda tonight, we have executive session minutes from October 27th, regular session minutes from October 27th. We have 3 donations and then warrant 22-18. The 3 donations are very generous. They're coming from the Weatherspoon Charitable Foundations. One is for the Cable Club, one is for the Innovation Center, and one is for the Drama Club and Musical. I'm just going to click on them so we
Could
can.
I just add that this Weatherspoon Foundation has been generous to us for years and years, and I think this is the earliest we've received these donations, but they're substantial.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
Is that 5,500?
yes.
Yes.
Wow.
So this family is really generous. Their children went to school here and are graduates of Swampscott High School, and she's still participating in this, which is unbelievable. So it's $5,500 for the Swampscott, the Cable Club, and then this is exciting for the Innovation Center, $1,500 for the Swampscott Innovation Center. Huh?
And 2,500 for drama. Wow.
Oh, for drama. Thank you. So, really generous donation.
What's your ticker?
Wow. Yes. Thank you very much.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, and
Annually.
and the programs it's impacting. I mean, it has a really broad reach too, because the Innovation Center obviously attracts a lot of people. The Drama Club and the Cable Club, they're all just, just really great activities we have here and opportunities we have here that are just all benefiting from that. It's awesome. So, if anyone wants to just make a motion to approve our consent agenda.
So moved.
Thank you.
I'll second.
I can find it
It's
again.
under update, that one.
Oh, thank you.
I was following you.
Oh, my God. All right, all those in favor, Glenn?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
And I am a yes as well. So before we adjourn, though, we have some public here, and thank you guys so much for sticking it out. If anyone wants to make a public comment, please raise your hand, and certainly we'd love to hear from you. Mr. Schneider, just go ahead and unmute yourself. You're all set?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Hi, Eric Schneider, I'm a Stanley parent of a kindergartner and a third grader. And I watched last night's school building committee meeting, and I was hoping to learn a little more about the Stanley relocation project at tonight's meeting. I think one thing to keep in mind is that, this is, not just a temporary relocation. This is long-term in the sense that for these kids, 2 years represents about 40% of their time in elementary school is going to be at, this temporary location. And I understand that the SBC is working on the space, the buildings, and the school department and the school committee are working on sort of the educational aspects, sort of the internal piece of this relocation. And I have trust in you that you are doing your best to do right by these kids and are working hard to that. And I also appreciate that, this is complex and the process just started, and you probably have more questions yourself than answers. That said, I hope that the decision-making process is transparent and communicated often and clearly to the parents. I know we have a lot of questions and concerns, but so that's sort of like the big picture. It would be helpful for us to understand, like, how are you thinking about this project and how are you looking at it, right? Are you looking at this as Stanley's going away, we're going to replicate it at some other location and, recreating that whole space? Or are you looking at it at, 2 years further down the line, the whole elementary school population is going to be integrated anyway if, and I know there's lots of talk about different sites, and I understand it might be close to one of the existing schools. Well, if you're close to an existing school, are you going to integrate the students then? Does that make sense? What are the, these different approaches? How do they affect the educational and social aspects of this transition? And, are there benefits or disadvantages to either of those? And how are you thinking about keeping grades together or siblings? People have siblings in different grades. So if there's limitations on how many classrooms you can have at a particular site, like how are you going to make that choice and what sort of variables are going into that? And if the location is somewhere different in town, well, then suddenly you have different families being closer and further in proximity to different sites. So, how do you decide who is going where? It goes back to sort of the first question: are you keeping, Stanley people together at all costs, or if suddenly, the makeup of the families, is that going to change in other schools? And how are you thinking about, logistics of drop off and pickup, especially if it's close to another school? Like what's the impact on traffic? And is busing a possibility, or is that a factor in placement of going in different locations? Those are just some of the few questions that I think everyone's sort of thinking about and trying to figure out. And I don't think anyone expects answers, but more sort of, what's your approach to this whole thing? And that's it for me for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schneider. All really good questions and all stuff that is definitely you're on target for so much of the conversations that are happening and will continue to happen. And those questions, we have them, and they will definitely be part of our discussions. I think there's nothing you said that hasn't been thought of, but yeah, as you alluded to, there's a lot of questions that still need to be answered, and it's going to depend on what the space is, and that's still we're still trying to figure that out. So thank you, and we'll go to the next person, Ms. Sorelli. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Katie Sorelli, Stanley parent of a first grader, incoming kindergartner. And don't want to echo Eric's thoughts there, but I do want, I know that last night's meeting you said that, you know, Superintendent Angelakis is going to make the decision, and then she'll make the decision with the educators, and everyone's saying before this plan is solidified by January. And my question is, can we at least have, you know, maybe one or two parents from the Stanley community involved in these conversations now, so that, you know, it just feels like January, you're going to just tell us what's going on, and it's just like I'm like a sitting duck, and I don't like that feeling. And I don't mean to be rude, it's, you know, we all have children, we all know how it feels, the purgatory we're sitting in here. But I just want to know, like, a baseline expectation. I mean, you guys know better than I do that the social emotional aspect of this for the children is just as important as the education. And I just want to make sure that the Stanley kids, wherever they're placed, they'll be placed with Stanley teachers and their Stanley students, like Stanley friends. I don't want, you know, my daughter going into wherever she's going. Honestly, it doesn't matter to me where she sits, as long as she's sitting next to her friends from Stanley School. Just that familiarity and comfort. Excuse me.
Thank you, and I guess I'm just gonna quickly comment, because I know this is so stressful, and I hear the stress in everyone's voice, and Stanley parents will certainly be responsible and have a say in their children's well-being, for sure. But what has to happen first is we have to have the place, and you'll hear about the place. And when you hear about the place, you're not going to hear every single details, because they're going to be ironed out over time. And you will be part of that process. But the first part of that process has to happen with the educators, and they need to sit down and just like Mr. Schneider was saying, there's a lot of different variables, and there's siblings, and there's all sorts of stuff, and that will be worked out, and parents will be included. But the educators need to flesh it out. And
I totally respect that. I absolutely respect that. My only thing is, and this is a crazy thought, but let's just say I was the one to be part of these conversations that you are having on the side, so that when every Stanley parent is saying, we don't know what we're doing, I can say, oh, don't worry. Like, if it's another parent from the school, that, you know, I could say things are under control, we have X, Y, Z, you know. And I know too many cooks in the kitchen is not a good thing, especially when there's so many decisions to be made. But
the whole point is no decision's been made yet. I mean, it's coming.
But you're making decisions currently. I mean, you're going to be making decisions without. It seems like you're making decisions without any parent input.
There's very little people. There's few people involved in the decision that's being made now, like what the space is going to be. And that has to happen the way it's happening. And then when the space is designed, you know, and fitted, that's a much more appropriate time to start opening the discussion up. But we have to get the space first. And so I appreciate what you're saying, and I agree that parents need to be involved, but we need to get the space first. So that's where we're at, and that's what you're going to hear about as soon as we can tell you, as soon as we know that's what you'll hear, and we're going to move forward from there. And certainly, the community is an important piece of that. So I appreciate your comments. I really do, and I know I'm not supposed to answer, but it's so hard for me to sit here as like on the school committee, and I'm not the chair, and I wouldn't normally do this, but I am tonight, so I get to talk all I want. And as a school building committee person, I get this. I keep hearing this, and I know it's hard, and I wish I could be a parent at Stanley. I was a parent at Hadley, and I wish I could tell you it's going to be okay. I'm thinking about your children as I would be thinking about my own children, and I wish I could be the parent that tells you it's going to be okay and you could trust me. But I get that. So I just please just know that we are thinking about your children in ways that educators think about children, and and want the best for them.
I totally do. It's just, the unknown is scary for everyone, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me. But my last question was before the vote was passed, was there a consideration like this? Was a thought of like, oh, okay, if the vote gets passed, then the Stanley School kids will go to a big blue box, like fill in the blank. Like was there a thought, or are we just thinking of it now?
Sure. No, we've been working on this for months. No lie. And we have money in the budget, and we've been talking about this, and we have an OPM and a design team that's done this before, and other schools who have done this, and it's not a simple task. There's a lot.
I understand.
So please know, like, these discussions, I mean, you're not the first person that, these questions and these concerns are things that your teachers and your principal and your superintendent and members of the school building committee, I mean, we have been talking about these things. And I know it sounds like, this is the first you're hearing about it, but these are conversations that have been ongoing and will continue for the best interest of all our kids. And I just, please, thank you. I appreciate your comments so much, and I understand your concerns, and we are addressing them. So it's going to be great. It really is. Your kid is going to be great because they're going to be with their teachers and their friends, and it will be fine. So
thank you.
Thank you. All right, sorry, you guys. I know you're.
I was trying to follow the rules, but
I
I appreciate all of their comments.
I just can't. You know what? I hear the stress. I feel the stress.
Okay, now that you've talked, I'm going to talk because I was following the rules.
Oh, sorry.
I just want to say that
there's no rules when I'm in charge.
Conversations that I had with Stanley families before the vote was just that we have been working on a plan for months. I can't even tell you how many meetings we've had about it. But because nothing is solidified just yet, we can't involve the parents at this point. And I want to thank Mr. Schneider for every one of his comments. It's like he's in our brains.
Right.
Everything that you brought up has been considered. And one of the commitments I made in the conversations I had with Stanley parents before the vote was that, I'm still an educator. I will always be an educator leading the district. And I went into this business because of kids. And they're not going to be the push pins on a map that were redistricted when we did Michon. These are little ones with siblings, with connections with their teachers, with their friends, and all of that is going to be considered. But I know this has turned into a conversation, and public comment is supposed to really be about.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. But I was trying to be good. I do just want to say that I have had conversations with families, and I appreciate all of the comments. And all of those things are being considered. And, it's been a pandemic, so those that don't know me well haven't built a lot of trust. But I do ask that you trust our team. We have well over 100 years of experience in education, and we are thinking about your children.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry to put you on the spot to do that, but
I'm trying to follow the rules.
I know.
And
I'm sorry.
It sounds like I'm
don't tell
it.
No one tell Amy.
Okay. Don't tell Amy.
All right. So if there's nothing else, we're going to adjourn at 5 minutes to 8.
Excellent job.
Thank
1
you.
hour. Excellent.
Wait, do we have to make a motion to adjourn,
Yes.
please?
I move that we adjourn.
And second.
A second.
All those in favor? Glenn?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Aye.
Karen?
Aye.
And I'm a yes. All right, thank you. I'm
you.
sorry.